So hello everyone, thank you for coming for this presentation. So may I present myself first? I'm Flora Pensé. I'm working for Coptis company as a business development manager. So today I will do a presentation of our new product, which is a regulatory database. So maybe I will first start with the agenda of this presentation. So first I will globally present my company very quickly, the different products we have. And then I will present our software, because before talking about the regulatory database, you have to understand that this database must be used on a software called Coptis Lab. So I will present it very briefly too. And then we will move to the database. So which kind of information we have on it, how does that work, how it can help you in the lab, and what kind of information you can find there and export. And then a conclusion. So Coptis company, if you have not heard about Coptis already, is a company developing software solutions for the cosmetic industry. So for more than 20 years, we have been developing cosmetic features, software solutions, databases to help you in the lab. So basically, the solution we provide is for R&D. So everything from the marketing brief to the production, all the stages should be covered with this software and all the other solutions we provide. So Coptis has been established actually in France, as you can hear from my accent, I'm sure. So we are based near Paris, and we have some other subsidiaries. Actually, we have two, one in New York and the other one in Singapore. We have some partners, and one is in Germany. So if you like more German explanation, my partner is on our booth, Scene 21. So please come if you want more details. So Coptis solution, the main one, as I've already talked about, Coptis Lab. This is the software. This is where you manage your formula, your raw materials. It helps you to make automatic calculation, ingredient listing, product information file, and regulatory analysis. To help you with this software, we have databases. Actually, we have 3 databases. The first one is Coptis Ingredients, where you can find raw materials data, so MSDS files, origin, trade names, suppliers, composition, many details depending on what the manufacturer shared. We have the Coptis Reg, which I will present today on regulatory information. And last one is the Coptis Tox with toxicological data, so NOEL, dermal absorption, LD50, so you can calculate the MOS of the formula, again, thanks to the features you can find on Coptis Lab. The database, they are here as library to assist you to collect information. So how does that work? On the software, we have to understand the software, the environment, what kind of information we find to understand how a regulatory database can be linked and how it can assist you on your product development. So on the digitalization of your data, we have different levels. First, we have the data about raw materials. So the raw materials you use in your formula, you have many documents on them, you have many information, where are they coming from, who is your supplier, how you should use it, what are their properties, and so on. Can you still hear me? Yeah? Okay. So we manage the raw material data in the software. Obviously, we also manage formulation information in the system. So you create your formula in the system, the different raw materials, the percentages, all your different brands and products, and the testing you perform on your products. So everything linked to the formulation, again, instead of using, I don't know if you have a system or maybe Excel files, we stop using that. Everything can be managed with Coptis. Regulatory data. So the software will help you on regulation. We have data on substances. So you have the list of substances in the software, in key name, CAS number, classification. And then the system helps to make regulatory analysis on your formula. So the formula, we know what is inside the formula, the percentage, and then it can make the calculation saying, oh, you want to export a leave-on or rinse-off product, or it's a baby product, or it's an aerosol. And then you want to export this product to Europe or to Australia, China, any country you like. And then it will just compare your formula to the external restrictions and see if you can export depending on the percentage of the substance you have used in your formula. So you will have lots of different warnings to assist you during the product development. Quality control, that's something we can also manage with the system, creating specification, testing your batch, your lots of raw materials, and more generally the test you will do on formula, stability test, challenge test. So that's something very interesting in the system also that can help you on how many tests you have to perform this week and what kind of tests you have to perform and centralize the results, obviously. Finally, something we have added to the software, the packaging modules. So now you can also manage packaging items as you would manage raw materials. You can create a finished product, formula plus packaging. You may have also documentation on packaging, composition. We can have country restrictions. So that's something we can also manage in the system. Right, so I'm talking a lot, you only see blocks, so maybe we can have a look at the interface. So this is one extract of the Coptis Lab interface. So as we can see on the left side, we have different modules where we can access what I was just talking about, raw materials, formula, testing, packaging, etc. I've not tested this, so I'm not sure if it works, but well, anyway, I will do without it. So on the interface, you also have in the purple banners all the different screens showing you the builds of material, the test, the specification, and obviously you have here the content. So for instance, here we can see finished products with a formula, packaging, primary packaging, secondary packaging. And we can have actually a better look at the formulation. So if we look at the formulation and what kind of information we can find, let me show you. So basically, the formulation management system helps you to create your product, to enter the raw materials information, and to have automated warnings. When you develop a product, you may have different trials and prototypes, so you will be able to manage your list of prototypes for a brand. Under this brand, we can see the different codes, as here, with status. So what you see on the left side, the different icons, is linked to a workflow, so validation workflow, where we can see if it was submitted to the marketing, if it was rejected or accepted, then if you have been to the lab pilot, and finally, the active manufacturer. So we see the whole process and the history. Obviously, for traceability. Now, if we look at the formula, this is one example of a formula. So when you create your formula, you add all the raw materials per trade names. And for each trade name, we will have a raw material code, a supplier, a pricing. You enter a quantity or a percentage, as you wish. And automatically, we will have different information on the raw material you import in your formula. Warning on allergens. That is one kind of warning. I could have warning on organic certification, Nature, Cosmos, ISO 16128. It could be warnings on vegan product, baby products. Any warning you like can be created in the software. On that case, it's about allergens. I can see there is only one raw material with allergen, which is the fragrance. Second warning, we will spend more time on that one. It's about the country restrictions. Is there any restriction linked to a raw material in that formula? Directly for the formulator, you have the information on the formulation tab. Raw material codes, what are the status of the different raw materials? Is it a sample? Is it an authorized raw material? Is it something forbidden, discontinued? Everything can be visible from here too. And finally, a blacklist. The blacklist could be for your customer, for your internal policies. So let's say you are developing product, you don't want to use silicones, you don't want to use parabens, phenoxyethanol, any substances, you can blacklist it. So it's not like country regulation, that is more internal policies. You can manage them with the software as well. And you will also have a warning on the formula. So here, for instance, I have blacklisted the phenoxyethanol. Phenoxyethanol is actually inside this phenonip raw material, so I can't use it. And we have many more features, but just to close on that one, I can say we can also manage the price of a formula per unit, per kilo, and you can compare pricing on raw materials depending on the supplier and the quantity, obviously. Right. So now, this is the full screen where we can see a formula, exactly what I've just showed you. So you have the composition of the formula, we have the country restriction. At the top, actually, you can manage the brands and the products. And at any time, you can export the information. So that's what you see on the right side, Word, Excel, PDF. You can even print labels. So these are all the information we can manage. Now, how can we find regulatory data? Where are they stored? Obviously, now what you see are trade names. These trade names, they are linked to substances. So a raw material contains substance, 100% of the substance, or maybe a mixture, could contain also some allergens, some traces. So all of these can be managed in the system. If we have a closer look at the formula and the raw material inside this formula, so if we expand the view, we will see that inside this formula, we have different raw material, included the cremophore PS20. And actually, this cremophore contains polysorbate 20 at 100% inside the raw material. So inside the formula, we have 3%. And as accumulated percentage of the substance, because this polysorbate 20 might be included in different raw materials. So that is actually the case, because we can see as accumulated percentage, we have 3% 22 of this polysorbate 20. That's what we see here, right? So directly and automatically, when you create a formula, you import raw materials, and we will have the INCI breakdown. To do this and to have this kind of information is because we have a raw material module. So this raw material module helps to manage the raw material information you have, rather than having spreadsheets and maybe you have built a small database on Excel files where you can find INCI breakdown of your raw materials and create a folder where you store all the information. You can actually store all the data about your raw materials inside the system. So you actually have two options. Either you import the data yourself, so that's something manual, or we can assist you to do that, or we have the Coptis ingredients database where you can find this kind of information, and they are automatically imported in the system. So what we see here is on the purple banner, all the information you can store on raw materials. Description, library for documents, nature and origin, condition of use, the risk phrases, is there any equipment to wear, is there any security you may take care about, and most importantly, the regulation. So regulation part is where we link a trade name to substances. Example, this crodazole, which is from Croda, we have two substances. One is a PEG6 and the PEG60, so 70% of the first one, 30% of the second one. So here, obviously, I'm linking a substance to a raw material. Anytime I use crodazole in a formula, the software will know this raw material contains 70% of the PEG6 and 30% of the PEG60. So at any time, with the software, you can print ingredient list, you can print INCI quality and quantity sheets. So we have different formats, can be Word, can be Excel, can be PDF. And the system helps you also on this documentation side, where it can prepare those kind of documents. Obviously, you can customize the upper banner with your logo and any information you like to share about these products. So these are the major features that you have on Coptis Lab: raw materials, formula, and substances. And so obviously you can use the system without any database, but you have to import the knowledge yourself. So if you know the regulation, you can enter it. If you are aware of the data about a raw material, you can add it yourself, and then you create your formula. But at Coptis, we have decided to provide a regulatory database to assist you to collect the information, because we know, and now we work on it, we even more know that it's a lot of time, it's time consuming to centralize regulatory information. And as you can see, the aim of it is not only a regulatory database, but it's also the way that Coptis Lab has many features that can automatize the regulatory analysis, and it's not just about data on regulation, it's also about the automatic analysis of your formula. So if we look back at this overall process where we have raw materials formulation, now we will have a closer look in the regulation phase where we can find the data. And so how does that work for the database Coptis Reg that we have included in the R&D software? And we actually mix this database with your internal restriction, your own knowledge that you can add into the system, and then we can provide these final products. So for the design of Coptis Reg, we are actually working with a bunch of experts. They are helping us to centralize the data and to collect the information continuously because the regulation is always changing. Then at Coptis, we work on the format to import the information inside the system, and then it can run on your formula. And as I said, the data are available in Coptis Lab. So about the information, we have about 100 countries covered. I will give you a little bit more detail just after. You will have automated alerts on formula, as I've just shown you. Restriction per country, application, substances. Again, I will show you the details. And we work continuously on the update. So the software can be installed on your own server. We don't have access to your data, nobody does. But the Coptis Reg database is linked to a cloud. So the data, they are always up to date. And if we change something in the cloud, instantly you will have the update in your software. You don't have to update it or do anything. It's just like continuously updated. So for the 100 countries, we have decided to divide it in 3 zones because you might not be interested in all the countries. So the first zone is the EMEA, so where we have 53 countries covered, so European, UK, Middle East countries. We also have Americas countries, so North America and South America countries. And the third zone is the APAC, where we will have Asian region, China, Japan, Taiwan, and Oceanian countries. So these are the 3 zones. You could decide to subscribe only to 1 zone, 2 zone, 3 zone, any zone you like, depending on where you export your products, obviously. So now, to present you Coptis Reg in Coptis Lab and how it looks. So Coptis Reg, the data, they are actually at the substance level. So you remember, I've just shown you before, formulation module where you manage your products, raw material module where you manage your ingredients, and this substance module, which is a new one for you, is where you manage the substances and the data we have on substances. So the data we have on substances will be the different names under the different listings. So what is the listing under the COSING, PCPC, China, Japanese listing? Coptis provide the list of inky name. We just update it. Again, you can modify it if you need. And then per substance, you can import or you can have access to toxicological data, create blacklist, and finally, the restrictions. So what can we see with the restriction? For instance, on this substance, which is the phenoxyethanol, we can see it at the top. On the phenoxyethanol, we will see a restriction about the different countries. So here we have Andorra, Argentina, China, Egypt. This is the list of countries. We could scroll down. The application is this regulation about general cases. This is for OTC, this is for baby product, leave-on. Any application can be created. What kind of restriction? Is it regulated? Is it forbidden? Is it authorized? Or maybe in some cases, is it listed? And then you have information on the percentage. So it could be a maximum percentage. It could be a comment about the percentage. And we have more columns about observation and internal comment you may add and some labeling information. So this information you see here in purple are the information from Coptis Reg. These are the validated data coming from the bunch of experts that are linked with the cloud, so always updated. In Coptis, you can manage different source of information. So either you have added yourself. So, for instance, you are aware about the European regulation about phenoxyethanol. So that's something you can add yourself, and that's what we see in white. So that's something I have added myself in the software. Or we can have the data from Coptis Reg database. In that case, it will be in purple. And we can see there is actually a third color in the system, which is this yellow. I'm not sure you can really see on that screen, but the yellow color is linked to the regulatory group. Coptis Reg is a new product for Coptis. It's a new database. Before having this database, we have decided to connect the cosmetic industry all together to give you access to regulatory data at no cost, excluding the fact that you need to pay for Coptis, but otherwise, it gives you access to the community of users sharing their knowledge about the regulation. So, for instance, one lab in Germany might say, I'm aware of the phenoxyethanol regulation in Europe, and they share it. And another laboratory can say, we agree with this information, we doesn't agree with this information. And at the end of the day, this community is sharing regulatory data. But the thing is, Coptis is not validating the information. But you still have the data, and they are quite interesting, and we have a lot of them, so I'm sure it's always a good thing to look at. So these are the regulatory data we can find in Coptis, and the format, how it will be shown at the first level in the substance module. So at the raw material module, as we understood, a raw material contains some substances, so automatically we will have the restriction about the substances of that raw material. So, for instance, on this emul-free, we can see that we have data on the Chinese restriction for rinse-off and leave-on, where actually the substance is listed, but without any regulation. So that's in the case you check the raw material regulation. But where it's going to be very useful and make you save lots of time, it will be on the formula screen, obviously. So when you are on a formula where you create your product content, you add the different raw materials, and again, automatically I will have under the restriction tab these blue warnings. I will actually see the information link from Coptis Reg and any other information, so internal restriction or the regulatory group. It will directly appear on your formula screen, so the formulator knows as soon as he has or she has added raw material in the formula, is there any limits, and if yes, what are those limits? We can see the source of the information, so the first part is actually Coptis Reg data, and we can see also another internal data about isobutylparaben in Europe. So this is the first warning directly visible on the formulation screen. And then we have access to another screen on the formulation module called a regulatory analysis. So this is the name of it, regulatory analysis. And here in the regulatory analysis, I will see the full INCI breakdown of my product. Again, all of this is automatic. I see all the INCI names under the different listings. So here we have the USA and the Europe. And then the percentage of this INCI inside the formula. If I'm above any limits, it will show up in red, like here, for instance, on the cyclopentasiloxane, where the percentage in the formula is 0.5%, and it's regulated at less than that. So if you want to export this product to Europe, you will have to change the raw material containing that substance, or you have to have a lower percentage. So you can, from here, filter if you are not interested in seeing all the countries, if you are not interested in seeing all the application. So on that screen, I can decide to reduce the application or the countries and then only see what I'm interested in. One of the last feature I want to show you on the regulatory analysis is the fact that we can export the regulatory analysis. You can export it under Excel, except the reg database, because obviously we want to protect our database. So the only format you will be able to export is the PDF. So when we click on the PDF icon on the bottom right side, you will be able to print this exact report, so you can share it with other teams. And again, it will centralize all the data and restriction we have on each raw materials. Now, maybe you wondered if there is any change in the regulation, how do I know? So we have in Coptis an advanced search module. So you can make search in the system. For instance, you are looking for all the formula that, this is the search, all the formula that contain isobutylparaben. In my system, for instance, so in the case isobutylparaben has a different regulation or something is coming, maybe they are going to forbidden isobutylparaben. So I make a search, and inside my system I have 40 formula containing isobutylparaben. I can also see the percentage in the results. So if we look at it, we see the formula name, the trial code, formula code, what are the stages, is it a formula under development, is it an active manufacture? And then we see the percentage of this isobutylparaben in the formula. So this is how it works today. We have the data on substances, then it automatically applies on your formula with all the restrictions and warnings. We are actually, because it's a new product, we are working on new features. The first one would be notification features. So we really want to warn you when there is a change to be made, so you are aware a change will impact some of your formula. So that's something we are working on, and we are expecting the feature to be available next year, beginning of next year. And also about the source. Right now, we don't have the source of the information visible in the software. We do have the source, but they are not shared in the system. Now we understand it's very important for our customers, so we are working to adding them in the regulatory analysis screen. So this should be available at the end of this year. This is for the coming features. So just to small presentation and conclusion. The system is here to help your productivity, so save some time, not doing everything manually, having some help on paperwork, regulatory analysis, so everything that can be done automatically with the system. Helping on the communication, so everyone on the same platform, all the different teams, regulation, formulation, testing, everyone can be on the same place and share documents and different stages on the projects. Quality, obviously, to secure your data. Everything is secured by password. Obviously, it's also saved on your own server. It's not web-based. And for the traceability and history, this is working as an electronic lab notebook too. And you have quick result because obviously you save a lot of time. For most of our clients, it's 30% save time, especially if you're working on Excel, because now everything is centralized and we can have a return on investment in less than 18 months. So yeah, I hope I was clear and everything was understandable. So I don't know if you have any question, and thank you for your attention. Thank you.